Hello, today is February 16th, and today we're reading our second reading for this coming Sunday from 1 Corinthians 15, verses 35 through 38 and 42 through 50. But someone will ask, how are the dead raised? With what kind of body do they come? Fool! What you sow does not come to life unless it dies. And as for what you sow, you do not sow the body that is to be, but a bare seed, perhaps of wheat or some other grain. But God gives it a body as he has chosen, and to each kind of seed its own body. So it is with the resurrection of the dead. What is sown is perishable, what is raised is imperishable. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a physical body, it is raised a spiritual body. If there is a physical body, then there is also a spiritual body. Thus it is written, the first man, Adam, became a living being. The last Adam became a life-giving spirit. But it is not the spiritual that is first, but the physical, and then the spiritual. The first man was from the earth, a man of dust. The second man is from heaven. As was the man of dust, so are those who are of the dust. And as is the man of heaven, so are those who are of heaven. Just as we have borne the image of the man of dust, we will also bear the image of the man of heaven. What I am saying, brothers and sisters, is this: flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor does the perishable inherit the imperishable. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So, as we started with this text last week, 1 Corinthians 15 is Paul's longest essay. It is most similar to an essay, I would say, on resurrection, on this entire topic that has become an item of contention for the Corinthian church. That is, someone is asking the question, someone is critically asking the question, how is it that you can say that the dead are raised? How is it that you can say that there is a resurrection? For the Greek-influenced Corinthians, Corinth is at the southern end of the Greek isthmus, there is a sense that what the claims that Paul is making, the claims about Jesus and the claims about a final resurrection of the dead are absurd. They are out of the realm of believability. And Paul is acknowledging, yes, this is an item of faith. This is something that is not related to logic. It is not something you can argue for, because experience does not show that resurrection is a real thing. What dies in our experience, especially when it comes to physical bodies, when the physical body dies, it dies. We say ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Ash Wednesday is a few weeks from now. And when we say that, we are reminding ourselves that this body we have is has a time limit. It comes with all the same frailties and likelihood of mortality that every other human body has had. That no matter how good our medicine gets, no matter how long we can prolong life, no matter how much we can improve our quality of life is, at least at this point, much, much better than the quality of life of only a few generations ago that did not have the same kind of dental care or did not have the same kind of responsive medical care. We are, in some ways, living lives that are longer and are qualitatively better than the lives of those who lived maybe only 100 years ago or 200 years ago. We are, in some ways, defying death much more often. but it doesn't go away. And so we know that the likelihood of our mortality is exactly the same as everyone else's likelihood of mortality, and everyone else that has lived had the same likelihood of mortality that we have. That is, in the end, we will all physically die. And so Paul is having to answer this question. What does it mean that we have this faith claim about the resurrection of the dead? A faith claim that then gets included later at the Council of Nicaea, and later by the Catholic Church when they put together the Apostles' Creed, that becomes this creedal profession of faith. This thing that we, in church, we recite and we say, I believe in the resurrection of the dead. And so it's a reasonable thing to ask, well, how? What kind of body are we talking about? Because if we're talking about the resurrection of the dead, are we talking about raising the body that they have in the ground, or the ashes that those people who are cremated had? What if you get into those kind of specifics and you're arguing about resurrection of a dead body, then it gets very gruesome. It gets very Halloween very quickly. We're not talking about zombies, and Paul is not talking about zombies. We're not talking about ghosts. We're not talking about absurd or horrifying pictures of resurrection. Paul is saying the resurrection of the dead is not gruesome. The ends of God, the rebirth, the resurrection of heaven and earth, because Jesus always talked about the coming of the kingdom of God, that is a new heaven and a new earth to go with the new bodies, is a completely new thing. And Paul uses the analogy of a seed, that the physical body that we lay in the ground, and this is the reason why this text, 1 Corinthians 15, gets read so often at funerals. Paul says, what we lay in the ground, what we cremate, what we maybe donate to medical science or to research, that is but a bare seed. And yes, that was us. That was part of us. And in some sense, we are never fully separable from our body. We are our bodies. But Paul says that is something that has to die. And like a seed, it disintegrates in the ground. Natural forces pull it apart. But through the machinations of God, through the power of God, what was laid in the ground as a seed is raised as something new, as something truly alive, that will be different than what was laid, but related, is a continuation of what had been before, but different. And Paul, in some ways, he's not saying we were pre-created souls that were put into bodies. No, we are our bodies. We are the result of our physical form. Our personalities clearly are shaped by our brains. What we end up doing in life often is shaped by our physical features or our physical form. But at the same time, Paul is not arguing for this eternal soul that is separate from the body. The soul is not trapped in the body. But instead, what Paul is talking about is that there is something to happen after this physical body. That not just this body will be raised, but that something new will happen as a result of God's direct intervention. That we are going to be like that second man, like Jesus, we will bear the image of the man of heaven. The language is vague. The analogy is messy. But the meaning of Paul's essay here is that we put faith not in some sort of reasoned argument about the resurrection. We have no reasoned argument. We put faith into the resurrection because Jesus was raised first. Jesus was raised first, and Jesus promises that there will be a resurrection to come for all people, for a new heaven and a new earth. And that is our hope, and that is what we put our faith in. Not knowing the details, not knowing precisely what will come, but trusting that God will do for us as has been done for Jesus. That is our second reading for this week. I hope you're having a good week. I hope you're staying warm. I hope you're staying healthy. Bye-bye.